Welcome back to another episode of Parenting in Progress. I'm Corey.
I'm Jordan.
And we're the Welches. Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to talk about the game tag. No, just kidding. What we're really going to talk about is navigating every stage of the early parenthood as a team, from sleepless nights to newborn nights to toddler tantrums. We're going to talk about how to support your partner. We're going to talk about how to manage frustration. And one of the most important ones is let go of the guilt. We like to call it tag your it. So for us right now, we are in the hitting phase. With a 19-month-old, she likes to hit once in a while. Once in a blue moon, she likes to bite as well. But anytime that happens, there is generally a flash of anger that you get pretty mad at her. And then it is followed by a little bit of guilty because, well, she doesn't know any better. And shame on me, the parent, right? Why am I getting so mad? And am I doing the right thing? Did I do something wrong? Did I scare her? Did I traumatize the kid? So one of the first things I think that is really important, and it's kind of different at each stage, is recognizing the other person's signs of when they are ready to tap out or they want you to tag in or vice versa. And I think there's different ones for every stage. At least there has been so far with us and Carly. There's different signs, I feel like. And so when we look at the newborn stage, there's a lot of things going on. Both of you are just extremely exhausted. You're obviously overwhelmed. And there can be different signs such as, just a 1,000-yard stare of where you're like, Jordan, hey, Jordan. And, oh, hey, it's like, hey, do you need a sec? Do you need a break? You become really irritable, per usual. I think that one's kind of across all three stages that we have had. You can be really irritable if you're not having a good day. I don't think Jordan ever had this one. I know I didn't, but sometimes you might just cry with a baby.
Yeah, I really don't feel like I cried a whole lot with her. I mean, I know that some people do, and that's kind of their coping mechanism, and that's great. I don't particularly remember. I might have, but I don't remember. One thing when you mentioned like the 1,000-yard stare is I feel like at that stage for me, I was kind of going through the motions sometimes. Like I might be washing the dishes and I'm staring out the window and you're washing the dishes, but then you look down and you didn't realize that you washed them all. Like have you ever drove someplace and you're like, how the heck did I get here? I wasn't paying attention. I mean, that's where I feel like I was I'm doing what I'm needing to be doing, but I'm not actively present in what I was doing.
Definitely. So next stage is the infant stage. And some of those can change. Some of these signs can change. The stressor is going to be more relentless. And then obviously the kiddos, they're forever changing, right? They're learning new things. They're doing different things. So that adds a lot of new challenges. And so that's where you really got to look for those signs of frustration, because there's going to be new challenges such as teething, and maybe you're trying to start them on some solids. There can just be a lot of different tension, but maybe they can start crawling and they can start walking, and heaven forbid they start running. You have a mobile baby now, running in places that you don't want to, or places that aren't safe, different things like that.
I would say at that stage, I'm a little less exhausted, or exhausted in a new way. Like you said, like there's so many new changes that they're doing. So yeah, they might be sleeping better through the night, but you're they're mobile now. So you're constantly chasing them around. So you're still tired, but tired in a new way. So I would still say for me, I was irritable. Like I was irritable at you. I was irritable at myself. I was irritable at everybody and snappy on things that I typically had more patience with. So I feel like that was one of my signs that to myself, like, oh, I'm snapping on this. I'm probably not super regulated and I'm getting frustrated. I know that this is a good sign that you recognize for me is when I sigh. You're like, oh, yep. I mean, I feel like that's a verbal one that you can tell she's getting frustrated by my sighing.
Actually, my favorite is when you just tell them what you want them to do, where Carly won't go to sleep and you're like, just go to sleep, or just let me change your butt.
Yes.
Things like that you can tell where Jordan's level is getting pretty elevated, and you better at least try to step in.
Yeah, I do feel like I verbalize what I want her to do. Just eat your supper. Stop. Like I'm saying what I want her to do. Yeah. Another one is, and this is when I recognize it enough in myself that I'm getting frustrated, is asking you for a turn on something. Like if she's restless and she can't go to sleep and I've rocked all I can rock her, I've sang all the songs I can sing her, I've bounced all the time I can bounce her, I am feeling like I'm not helping her any. So like, can you try? So I'll verbalize and ask you to do whatever, work your magic.
Yeah, it's generally not in a nice, oh, will you please do this? I will thank you. It's like, get your butt over here and you do it. I'm done. It's basically saying, tap out, tag, you're it.
Yep.
And so, yeah, that is a definitely interesting time. And now where we're at currently is the toddler stage. And so the stressor is a little bit different. It's a little more emotional, right? Because you're dealing with power struggles. And now Carly's starting to feel stuff. She's getting emotional. And so this is where you can get a lot more snippy. So you can have some sharp tones in there. Or maybe she accidentally tries to use her teeth in a non very polite way, or use her hands. Generally can clench some jaws. Also, she's going to be throwing a lot of tantrums. And so it's, once again, a different type of exhaustion and anger. I feel like in the newborn stages, we didn't have a whole lot of anger. It was just more like, what do you want? We're trying to really please you. Now it's more like I'm mom and I'm dad, and just listen, for the love of God, please.
Yeah, definitely I can tell with you when you raise your voice, like your tone of voice changes. And I'm like, I'm better go check and see what's going on because he's getting frustrated. I feel like myself, I'm really short with you when I'm frustrated. And it's not just like frustration on like one thing that Carly might have done. For me, it's more of like I get overstimulated a lot. And so then I get short.
Well, maybe I need to take that into consideration, Jordan, because you're generally short with me most of the time as well. So,
no comment on that.
I was gonna say we haven't had the adult stage or the married stage yet. I guess we'll have to hit that one in a later episode. So now that we've talked about kind of some signs, at least Jordan and I, we kind of recognize signs, and those signs can change as your kid grows, right? From all the way from being a little itty bitty baby that's about the size of a football to a 2-foot toddler running around terrorizing your whole house. So now it comes the part of, okay, you've recognized that sign, but now we're going to have to act on that, right? We're going to have to get some practical strategies for kind of each phase. That's what we're going to talk about next, is how to help out with those. So you've seen the signs. Now what do I do? The rescue needs to match whatever challenge is happening, right? This is where the time is you're going to need to step in with support and not criticism, right? You're here to help defend your partner and help them move along.
So in those newborn stages, some nights are a lot easier than others. Some nights, she's up more frequently. She's not settling down as easy. Some nights are just, you just get less sleep. And I'm thinking like, this is obviously I'm on maternity leave. You're starting to go back to work. I remember there's times with if we had a rough night, after she got done feeding and if she was not going back to sleep, you'd take her into the living room and for a little bit, and I could go back to sleep. Like, it's still before you have to go back to work, and I could at least get some sort of sleep before I have to go through the day with her by myself. And whatever you did with her, walking around, bouncing, whatever, it helped me out because I felt like I could refresh.
Yeah, and a lot of times I remember those early mornings, I guess you could call them, just trying to get her back to sleep was probably the majority of it. She had just fed or she had just woke up and just couldn't get her back to sleep. And Jordan would try, and finally I'm like, all right, I generally just walked around, sang to her, and just walked laps in the living room and around the house, and probably, really no more than an hour at the very latest it was done. So it was a small sacrifice. Another thing I remember is when I was going back to work and I'd get back, once in a while I get back early or I'm just back at normal time, you'd kind of be ready to be done and just needing a little hour break. And generally that was kind of when you went and took a shower and maybe you put on some makeup or did your hair. You were gone for a half an hour to an hour or so, just doing your things. And I would watch Carly, which newborn stage was really not that much, but it's like, hey, I got her. If she needs fed or something, we'll tackle that hill. But I'm watching her, so you just go do what you need to do.
Well, and even if it was you're coming home and I'm making supper, just to not have to have someone else taking care of her, watching over her, while I can go and do something else, decompress, cook supper. Or that's when I think you were feeding her a bottle and I would pump. So I had that where I didn't have to nurse her right there. You would give her the bottle and it was just a little bit of a break. And it means a lot. It definitely went a long way.
Yeah, and it's really easy to gift a break. I think gifting is probably the easiest when it's a newborn because it's not like you're having to watch them 24/7, not like they're going to get into anything, right? It's, all right, I've got the kid, she's sleeping, and go do what you need to do for a bit and come back when you're done, or maybe in an hour she needs fed, so we'll do that. But just go be yourself for a little while.
Yeah, and it makes it better for everybody. If I can have a minute to myself, I can collect myself. You get some time to relax with her. I feel like I'm a better mom and a better wife if I can have that break, because then I could just kind of decompress for whatever I needed to decompress from. And then I can come back and it's like a breath of fresh air. Like, okay, now I'm rejuvenated. I can make it through till bedtime,
So now that we've kind of gotten out of, gifting, probably more than likely sleep for a newborn, you can still gift some time, but you're more than likely both of you are going to be more busy. So you can kind of gift a break once we get into the infant stage, just from a task, whether it's washing the floors, whether it's cooking, whether it's washing bottles, maybe it's giving the kid a bath. That was one that I did a lot. I would give Carly the bath, and she liked it for the most part, where Jordan could just go do something different that evening.
I usually just cleaned the kitchen.
Yeah. But you just didn't have to watch her. And in that infant stage, there's going to be things in your house that's just not going to get done in a timely manner. And that's where sometimes you can gift those tasks of, hey, I'm going to run the dishwasher quick, or, hey, I'm going to go clean the bathroom, or whatever that is. Just let them do that. So it's another good time of gifting for sure. That's kind of wrapping up the first two stages. Now, the toddler stage is just a little bit different than those first two stages, because you've got a little person on the run and they're getting into stuff. They're exploring the world all over and they're very mobile. And so it's just a little different piece. And really the only gift you can give them is, your partner, I'm meaning. The only real gift you can give them is just some emotional relief. Because like I said earlier, it becomes a lot more emotional, and meaning you get angry, you get frustrated, all of that sort of stuff. It's totally different than those first two stages.
Well, just yesterday, Carly, it was an accident, but she kicked me right in between my eye and my nose. Hard. It hurt. And then within 30 seconds of that, I got slapped twice on the face. And that was on purpose. But I was frustrated, and I didn't want to lash out, and I didn't want to do anything I'd regret. You know, I didn't want to yell. I didn't want to do any of those things. So I just walked out. And I mean, you were in the same room. You obviously saw like, hey, she left. I'm going to be with Carly for a little bit. I left. Like I needed a break. I needed to reset. So I didn't do anything that I didn't want to do as a mom. Like I wanted to be a good parent and do the right things. So me leaving was a good step for me. And you were able to watch over her and take 5 minutes before then I was ready to re-engage, I guess you could say.
Yeah, we were both in the office, and I didn't see the kick, but she must have got Jordan pretty good in the nose. And I did see the second hit, which I still don't know if Carly was actually playing, because there comes a time where, you know, it's really difficult as a parent, because when we wake up in the morning, one of us will go get her, the other one will usually lay in bed, and you try to get her to wake the other person up, which even though they're already awake, you just act like you're sleeping. And so she usually, you know, smack you on your shoulder or on your side, you know. It's a friendly hit, right? It's really difficult for, you know, her right now to figure out what hit is acceptable. And generally any hit to the face is not acceptable. I think that's where your boundary is drawn. I couldn't tell. I think she just thought you were playing. And what I think happened was when she hit you in the nose, your hands were covering your face and you weren't really saying a whole lot because you're just sitting there taking the pain and waiting for it to go away. And I think she took that as I'm sleeping or I'm playing peekaboo or whatever, which generally she's like, hey, cut that out. You know, I'm here. And I think that's why she smacked you in the face twice.
Well, and I know that she wasn't doing it like, I'm mad at you, I'm hitting you. And that's why I needed to leave. It wasn't a malicious hit on her end, but I didn't want to lash out at her just because I was in pain. So that's when I had left. And yes, I think you're completely right. Like she's trying to figure out her world and like, hey, if I'm playing, I can do this. But if I just come over and smack you, that's not okay. So she's trying to figure out, like you said, what's playing and what's not playing. What's an okay to touch. Like we're also working on tickling and pinching. Like she can tickle, but then a tickle turns into a pinch. So we're trying to teach her the difference in that too.
Yeah, she does have malicious times where you do something and she gets frustrated, and generally it happens in the kitchen. She wants up for some dang reason. You're like, no, I'm not picking you up. We're getting dinner ready. And then she'll start smacking or she'll scratch. Those are really the only two things that she's done so far, is she'll hit you and then she'll just scratch you. And she has a mean look on her face. This one, she really didn't. She was kind of smiling. It wasn't like she was mad at Jordan. She just was caught in the wrong instance and didn't know what to expect. But yeah, Jordan ended up, she moved her over and said, no, you don't get to be around me, I think is what you said. And you walked off. And as Jordan was saying that, I was watching Carly's face the whole time. I don't know why, but I was watching her face to see how she would react. And she kind of went from a smile down to a sad look. You could just tell she's processing like, oh, wait a minute. No, this wasn't fun. Like, I didn't know that. Like, I did something, I don't want you to act that way. Basically, why are you acting like that, Mom? And so Jordan storms off out of the office. Anytime Jordan storms off, Carly always runs after her anyway. She just does. And so she runs and she's giving a little whine. And so I don't know where Jordan went, but I don't think Carly could find her. Anyway, I'm like, well, Jordan really doesn't want to be around. It wasn't like a split second regroup. I think it was a minute regroup is what you needed. And so I just shouted, I'm like, all right, Carly, come here. I said, just come here and come see me. And generally she doesn't, but this time she did. She came in And I picked her up and put her on my knee. And I'm just like, you can't hit people in the face. It's not nice to hit people in the face. You don't want to get hit in the face. I don't want to get hit in the face. Mama doesn't want to get hit in the face. Your friends don't want to get hit in the face. So we just don't hit each other in the face. You could tell that she knew something was wrong. She just didn't know what it was and still doesn't. I mean, even though we had that talk, she doesn't know. And so what I ended up doing is I'm like, you need to go give Mama a hug and a kiss and you need to tell her sorry. And so I said, can you do that? And she goes, yeah. And so I put her down and she walks out of the office. I'm following her and she finds Mom. And I said, you give Mama a hug and a kiss and you tell her you're sorry. And she goes up there and she was going to try to hug your leg. You bent down and picked her up and she said sorry. She gave you a hug, gave you a kiss, and everything was good.
And I think I reiterated just that hurt Mama. You need to have nice hands. Our hands aren't for hitting, and I know it's going to take countless repetitions of that same phrases till she understands. I'm not mad at her. I was frustrated and I didn't want to get mad at her or yell at her or anything like that. That's why I left. I needed a minute to collect myself. She obviously noticed that, hey, I probably did something that upset Mama, and it was fine. So we just have to give ourselves, understand, like, she wasn't trying to hit me out of mean intent. So obviously if she's going to hit me in a mean way, my approach is going to be a little bit different, but she's still trying to figure out the world.
So in those times where you get frustrated and you may shout at them and walk away, or you may do whatever it is, grab their hand or whatever to say no, right? To get their attention to stop. With this whole parenting piece, there is a no blame game is what we would call it. So you need to give yourself some grace. It's just a mindset shift. It's about removing all the blame and understanding the why behind your child's behavior. Just like we had talked about previously, we know why Carly's doing these things. At different stages, they're learning different things, and they're going to test your boundaries. That's their nature. That's the biology of it. That's what they're going to do for a really long portion of your and theirs life. They're going to test what is right and what is wrong. That's what they're trying to do in this world. And with that, you can blame. It's really easy for you to blame yourself. I do it a little. I know Jordan does it more than I do. And I think that's just Jordan's nature and personality versus mine. But, it's not your fault that you got mad at them. And it's not their fault either. And I think to a point, one thing that can help is just talking with your partner, talking to somebody about it, just going through all that. I think it helps you better prepare. And I think it helps you make a little bit of a shield of not wanting to do those things because you know that. And I think that's where our shield is. We just remove ourselves. So if Carly's hitting me, nope, Jordan takes Carly and she moves her. Even if I'm mad or if I'm not, she takes her and moves her and says, you don't get to be by Dad because you don't have nice hands. And kind of vice versa, just like the other day, Jordan removed herself and is just like, no. And if you don't have a partner, lock yourself in the bathroom for just a minute and just take 10 deep breaths. I mean, there's different ways to do that too.
I work with students with some significant behaviors as a special education teacher. That's just part of my job. And I teach these regulation strategies, these coping mechanisms to these kids all the time. I feel like I need to have it together myself when in reality, like, we're human and we have to use coping strategies as well. There's no way that I'm going to be able to get through to Carly or I'm going to be able to help in any situation if I'm not regulated. So as I left, I needed to go take some breaths and regulate so I could come back with her. There's a thing called co-regulation. So when there's times where she's upset, we have to work together to be able to get past whatever it is. If she's fussy about wanting something, validating those feelings and helping through. I feel like it's okay for you to take a step back. Don't feel the guilt and the shame because you are human and it's best for you to regulate before you go and interact with them, because that's when you don't, that's when you're going to have more guilt on things that, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I shouldn't have reacted that way. If we would take a step back and regulate ourselves, more likely than not, you're not going to have that many feelings of, oh, I should have done that differently.
Yeah, definitely to reiterate, it isn't your fault. It's not theirs. It's all developmental. It's not malicious, even though sometimes she does get angry at us. But once again, it still comes down to it's biology. And so with all of those things, it's also natural for you to get very frustrated. And, frustration, it's just a signal, right? It's just you expressing anger. It's normal. It's just a natural response for us. It's definitely escalates when you're stressed and you're overstimulated, which a little kid can make it so fast. It'll take you from 0 to 100 faster than you can say toddler.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. But with that, it definitely, you can turn that back around. So just as fast as you get escalated, it can come down just as quick. At least it does for me. Maybe not all people. I don't know about you, Jordan, but when I get really mad at Carly and it just happens in a snap of a finger, once you remove yourself, you get your mind right really fast, boom, it just goes away and it melts away, and now you're back to good.
The same with her too. Like, she could be mad at me for something because I won't give her a sucker or something that she wants. And then she can turn around and come give me a hug and a kiss. I mean, it happens. We're all human.
Yeah, and it's not a flaw of your character either. You can't say, "Hey, man, I'm a bad dad because I yelled at her, don't do that," the other day, and she just had no idea what I was even meaning. It's just not. It's not who you are when you get elevated like that. It's caused by all these other factors. You're still a good mom. You're still a good dad. You're going to be the best mom and dad that kids ever had. And you just need to know that these things are going to happen. You take them as they come. It makes you grow better, do better things, that type of stuff. It's okay to set boundaries. We're trying to figure that out right now. Framing some discipline, as calm teaching to where you're not regulated and maybe overstimulated. That's not when you want to teach them, right? You want to take the 10 seconds. You want to calm down. You want to think about what you want to tell them. You say it in a calm manner, and it generally goes further, because if you don't, you can cause trauma. You can cause a lot of different things that you may not necessarily be thinking of because you're unregulated, and that's just not a good way to teach.
For an example, with Carly, when she's hitting, and some of it is play hitting and some of it is not play hitting, I think it's great to take what you don't want her to do and find a positive thing that she can do. So for a while, when she would be trying to hit me for something, and I said, "No, we don't hit. Do you want a high five?" And she, you could just see it in her brain that she changed. "Oh yeah, I want a high five. I like giving high fives." And I had a smile on my face, and turning that something that I don't want her to do into something that we can do. Or hands aren't for this, but you can do this. We don't pinch, but you can tickle. Do you want to tickle? Or we don't squeeze. Do you want to hug? Like, trying to find a replacement behavior for that is so good for them to learn those boundaries, because they are trying to figure them out.
I would say the hardest one for me is try not to give big reactions, even though that is my go-to.
Oh, same.
Something happens, it's like, "No, you don't do that." And it's like, then they think it's a game of, "Oh, hey, if I do this, they act like that." They don't know that it's bad. They have no idea that's bad. They're just like, "I like how you did that. I want you to do it again."
Yeah, they don't know that it was bad, but they know they got attention from you. And so that's where, I'm dealing with that with kids at school. They are doing negative things so they can get negative attention, because negative attention is still attention. It is very hard, especially when she'll just completely take her food or her plate and just drop it off of her tray. Or she'll take her water cup and just drop it and then look at it and be like, "Uh-oh." I'm like, "No, that wasn't an uh-oh. You did that on purpose." That's frustrating. And it's hard to not say, "No, we don't drop our food," because again, she's getting a reaction out of you. So to try to be as level-headed as you can, or "We don't drop our food. If you don't want it, you can do this." Just teaching those skills. But it is hard as parents, because you're frustrated. No, you shouldn't be doing that. I've asked you not to do that. So yeah, you got to take a second to breathe, collect yourself before you engage. But it is very hard to do that.
So yeah, definitely don't blame yourself, right? Give yourself some grace. One other thing that you always have to remember is you're not alone in this fight, right? You're not alone in this journey. I guess I shouldn't call it a fight, right? You're not alone in this life. You've got a community around you. You got a family around you. You can reach out to them to express your feelings or give pointers, different things like that. You can talk to your friends and family and tell them what you're going through, and that way you don't have to be as hard on yourself. You can lean on them, and I'm sure they will support you.
Or even I've been there. I remember that stage. It does get better. Hearing that from people that have experienced that before is good to hear. And then hearing things from people that are in the same trenches as you are right now is also helpful, even to just vent. Like I got overstimulated. I got frustrated that time. I don't like that. But they're like, hey, you know what? I've been there. I've done that before. You're not a bad parent.
Yeah, if you got friends that have kids, they'll be like, oh man, I remember when my kid did this, or I remember that. One of the resources Jordan uses, we call it around here, is Parents as Teachers.
Yeah, so it is a free resource in the area that I'm at. I don't think it's everywhere, but it is a well-known thing. Just see if it's around in your area or something like that. It's an educational resource for parents that have children birth to 3. And we have a parent as teacher educator come to our house, or I go to their office once a month, and they're just checking in and they're seeing how things are going, and they're checking on her development physically, mentally. Like right now we're trying to start working on pulling away the pacifier. So I would be asking her like, hey, do you have any tips on this? Or she's being really picky at eating this. What do I do about this? And it's just nice to hear from someone else that these things that we're struggling with, even not struggle is not the right word, but going through some of these things, that it's developmental. They also say like, okay, well, she's 19 months old. Once they start getting to 2, you're going to see some more of this and this. And just to know that it's normal and it's not something that we did to cause it. So it's a really great resource. It's just nice to voice concerns to someone that understands and is going to give you some helpful tips back on this to try to make parenting just a tickle bit easier.
Yeah, and Jordan and I, we send each other reels. So we actually will get on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll send each other stuff back of moms or different parents that are talking about some discipline, or maybe it's just a funny kid video of like, man, I hope my kid don't do that. But sometimes you can get some pointers on there and be like, oh, you remember this Carly stage, or stuff like that is what we'll talk about. So you can even reach out on there. I'm sure there's social media groups. I don't know any off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's certain mom groups out there that you can get on a chat and you can talk that way. If you don't have anybody that lives close to you or anything like that, get on social media and just talk about it online.
Yeah, there is one lady that I follow on Instagram that she helps with like breastfeeding and pumping. So when I was in that stage, I'd look through some of her videos and she would address some things. I'm sure if I had a question, I could reach out to her, but there's also like some pediatric OTs that I'm looking at what's developmental, or what are some developmentally appropriate toys on things like this. I just like to look and see, okay, maybe it's just a teacher in me. Like, what do I want? What do they want this kid at this age to get to? Okay, where's Carly at and how can I get there? It's just good information about where she's at in her childhood.
So to wrap up this episode, to take away some of the key points, right? In order to play the game, tag you're it. We want to know what each other's signs are, or know what your signs are of where that limit is. I'm exhausted. I need a 10-second breather. I need a little while away. Learn what those signs are for them needing help, because sometimes they're not always going to ask you directly for help. You kind of got to step in where you think you need it. Next, obviously, if you step in, you need that plan to tag in and give each other a break, whether that's, gifting them a little time to take a shower, or, hey, I'm going to watch Carly while Jordan cooks supper because all she wants to do is she wants up, or she gets the pots and pans out and Jordan trips on them, etc., right? So find different ways to be able to tag in.
And then also take the blame out of the equation. Like, it's so natural for us to just blame ourselves for everything. You're a good parent having a hard moment. There was something that you sent me. It was real about saying, parenting is only hard for good parents. We're trying our best to be good parents for Carly, and there's going to be some times where you mess up, and just take the blame out of it. You're learning, we're growing, and use that as a learning experience.
And then last not least, definitely lean on your little village of people. You're not alone in this. Somebody will be able to talk to you. I mean, heck, if you really want to, reach out in the comments. We can talk about it. We're on different platforms. We try to read the comments that you guys put in. So if you really need to, reach out to us. Reach out to your family. Reach out to your friends. Get on a local chat group on Facebook for moms. Just say, hey, anybody else experience this? How do you deal with it? So there's definitely resources out there, like Jordan talked about, Parents as Teachers. If you have one that's local to you, that would be a really good resource or something like that. You're not alone in this journey for sure. With that, I think we're going to wrap this episode up. Appreciate everybody listening. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you for listening to Parenting in Progress. If you like what you heard and you're listening to us on YouTube, please go ahead, like, share, subscribe, drop a comment. If you're listening to us on other platforms, go ahead, give us a follow and a rating. We truly appreciate it. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.